The one non-negotiable defining characteristic of successful people is their mindset. The norm sees risks. Outperformers see rewards. The norm sees obstacles. Outperformers see opportunities. You can have anything you want in life if you believe it and choose to see it. Discover the cutting-edge research, superior strategies, and helpful hacks to fuel your passion and focus your productivity. This is about you performing at your individual personal best day in and day out with energy to burn and stamina to sustain. Buckle up, you are listening to the Outperform the Norm podcast, hosted by Scott Welle. It's go time.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. This is Scott Welle with the Outperform the Norm podcast. And today what I want to talk to you about is the importance of process. And I'm going to explain what I mean specifically by that in a second. But what I want to start with is, I put something out on social media on process the other day, and it got a decent amount of activity. And for those of you that don't know the definition of process, it's simply a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular end. Okay, and where I actually want to start with this is, we're an outcome-driven society. We're very metric-based. We're very results-oriented. Simply meaning that we place a lot of stock in winning or losing, making the sale or not making the sale, with losing the weight or not losing the weight, getting the girl or not getting the girl. It's very outcome-driven. And, I'm all about having goals. I'm all about having targets out there and things that you want to accomplish. But, this goes way back to my days when I was doing full-time sports psychology. And, we used to talk about the difference between process goals, outcome goals, and performance goals. And ultimately, when you have so much stock placed in outcomes and placed in simply results with a dichotomy of, let's just say, winning and losing, knowing that we're not just talking about athletics here. When I think about, the people I've seen that have gotten really stressed, they feel like they're running the rat race, they get demotivated, they feel like they're not getting ahead, whether it's personally or professionally, it's usually because they're only looking at outcomes, and unfortunately, those outcomes may not be favorable, and they're simply not focusing enough on the process. So where I actually want to start this is, many of you out there have probably heard of John Wooden. If you haven't, please go buy the book Wooden, okay? Read the book. It's awesome. It will teach you everything you need to know about success and winning in all of life. You'll be able to rip through it in probably one day, but it's one of the best books I've ever written, and very simple. And for those of you that don't know who he is, he's a legendary basketball coach for UCLA. I don't even know exactly how many titles he won. I believe it was 10 plus. And I believe he's the winningest basketball coach ever in terms of titles won in NCAA history. And you might think, okay, if he's the winningest coach ever, he had some revolutionary coaching tactics or philosophy that he was using with his players, and he didn't. All he taught was the painfully simple basics, but what he did better than any coach of his time or any coach since is he got his players to invest fully in their individual responsibility and their role within the framework of the team and the framework of the system. And he also got them to buy in 100% fully to the process, knowing that the outcomes would just take care of themselves. He never talked about winning. He never talked about losing. He never talked about championships. All he talked about was each person executing their individual roles to the best of their ability. And he knew if all the players could simply focus on that, then the outcomes and the results would take care of themselves. They're simply a byproduct of executing a perfect process that goes into it. And if he was always just talking about winning and losing and not focusing on, the different roles of point guard, shooting guard, power forward, small forward, and center, I guarantee his results wouldn't have been as good. And many coaches have tried to use that philosophy since and have been unsuccessful. But the ones that have replicated his philosophy have certainly been more successful. And I think this stems well, obviously, outside of basketball. Again, this can go into all areas of life. It doesn't matter if we're talking about weight loss. If you're simply looking at scale weight all the time and basing all of your stock on the outcomes of the results of whether or not you're losing weight. Okay, well, what are the different processes or the actionables that you're doing daily that go into losing weight? Well, it's sleep, stress, nutrition, hydration, exercise. That should be what you're focusing on every single day. Ultimately, if you do those things perfectly or as to the best of your ability every single day, I promise you the body composition and the scale will take care of itself. It's not something you need to focus on, but you need to invest yourself and lose yourself more in the process. And professionally speaking, you can do the same exact thing. If you're not where you want to be financially, whether you own your own business or whether you're an employee, well, what are the different processes that go into whatever outcomes you need to achieve in business? Hey, if you're in sales, maybe you need to improve your own individual sales skills or your product knowledge or your competitive analysis. It can be, any of these different processes, but again, focusing on those instead of just focusing on made the sale, didn't make the sale, hit the targets, didn't hit the targets. Investing yourself fully 100% and committing to the process will take care of those outcomes in the end. You just have to believe that. And I promise you, if you are able to get to that point, I think back again to sports psychology. A lot of you have probably heard, that player was in the zone. We used to call it flow in sports psychology. But basically what that means is that, again, athlete in the heat of competition, when they're playing their best, they're not thinking about winning and losing the same way John Wooden wasn't. They're simply thinking about focusing on the process and executing that to the best of their ability, and then the outcome simply takes care of itself. It's the same exact thing, but they are lost. And I tell my athletes this a lot of times: lose yourself in the process. Lose yourself in the daily actionable items that you need to do. And if you are able to do this with 100% of your body, mind, soul, and spirit, all of the outcomes in your life will take care of themselves. I promise you. So really, what I'm encouraging you to do after you listen to this is to simply take an inventory of where you're at personally and professionally, and to really look at it and say, how much stock am I putting in simple outcomes? Am I looking at really the daily, we call them DMOs in business, but daily methods of operation? You could have DMOs in any area of your life, but are you really focusing on, what am I doing day to day? What are my day-to-day patterns and routines and behaviors and actions? And if I focus just a little bit more on those and stop worrying about what the end result would be, how much better could my life be if I could simply just lose myself in those daily activities? So that's really what I'm challenging you to do. And, if you do that, I guarantee every single area of your life will be enhanced. So that's all I have for you today. Hope you got something out of it. I will catch up with you guys next time. This is Scott Welle with the Outperform the Norm podcast. As always, wishing you the best of health, happiness, and high performance. Have a great day. Hey everyone, it's Scott. Did you like this episode? Be sure to subscribe to the next one and tell a friend about it. If you want free books, videos, and world-class training on motivation and peak performance, please visit me at scottwelle.com and enter your name and email for my newsletter list. Until then, go out there, make it happen, enjoy the day, and I wish you the best of health, happiness, and always high performance.